Mr. President, I'd like to move now to a separate topic, and the one for which I originally come to the floor. And I come to the floor to talk about our economy. In April, the unemployment rate went up. Surprisingly, it went up. It was supposed to go down. It went up. So have prices all around the country. The experts in the White House actually thought that we were going to add 1 million new workers in America last month. In reality, only about 266,000 Americans went back to work. So the so-called experts at the White House were wrong, and they were wrong by 750,000 workers. Now, 40,000 of those people who went back to work went to government jobs, which means the cost of government continues to grow. The private sector was able to only hire 220,000 people rather than 1 million. It was the most disappointing job report in over 20 years. There's also been a slowdown in the middle of a recovery, which is surprising to many. You know, before Joe Biden took office, we saw the fantastic economic recovery, and it was the fastest one in American history. We're bouncing back from the coronavirus shutdown. It's a very different story now. It's no coincidence. This is a direct result of President Biden's policies. And the policies, and Mr. President, the Democrats all voted for this, the Republicans all voted against it. The Democrats, President Biden, party line voted to extend a bonus payment for workers to stay at home, paying people more to stay at home than they could make at work in many cases. People aren't lazy, they're logical, and it's a perfectly logical thing to do that they took up the president on his offer to stay home when they were paid more to stay home than they could make at work. So as a result, job openings right now are at an all-time high. Businesses can't find workers. Everywhere I go in Wyoming, I see help wanted signs. The president of Delta Airlines reported that they canceled 100 flights last month because they couldn't find enough people to work. They had people ready to fly. They didn't have people who were ready to work. People want to work. People want to hire others. The incentives coming from government are absolutely wrong. Joe Biden and big government are getting in the way of people returning to work. There's another big problem I heard about it this past weekend in Wyoming. From business owners, I heard it can't find workers because of the incentives coming out of this administration. Help wanted signs up. And from other people asking me, why are prices going up? Why is inflation back? You know, under the Obama-Biden administration, we saw the same thing. It's called the middle class squeeze, where prices are going up faster than wages are going up. April was the worst month for inflation since the Great Recession 13 years ago. In effect, inflation means that the money in your wallet buys less. So in a sense, you have a pay cut. Inflation is a regressive tax. That means the poorer you are, the more it hurts. The fewer things you can buy for the money you have. The big donors and the Democrat elite, they're going to be just fine. They won't even notice rising prices. They don't notice when gas prices go up. The Silicon Valley hotshots, the masters of the universe in Manhattan, they're going to be just fine. It's families, working families in Wyoming and New Mexico and across the country who are struggling to get by. They're the ones that are going to get hurt the most. Just look at the cost of a trip to the grocery store. First, you have to go to the grocery store. You get there, you got to drive. Well, the price of gasoline has gone up. Across the nation now, the price of a gallon of gasoline is over $3 a gallon. A year ago, it was about $2 a gallon. Since Joe Biden took office, it's gone up nearly 70 cents a gallon. That hits people when they fill up because they have to drive. Getting back to work in Wyoming and New Mexico, Mr. President, people drive long distances, and we use more gas than most. So people in our states are paying more than many other places. Well, I don't think it's a coincidence that the price of gas has gone up. Joe Biden's first action in office was to draw a target on the back of American energy and pull the trigger. He shut down the Keystone XL pipeline. He banned new oil and gas leases on federal lands. He's restricted the production of American energy. We need energy. We need it now. Gas prices affect the price of everything else. It costs more and more to transport things across the country. And that's why we're seeing prices go up at the grocery store. Working families are getting squeezed. And this is a direct result of the policies of the Biden administration. One reason it's happening is because President Biden is flooding the country with so-called easy money. We're finding out it's not too easy. In the month of March, President Biden signed into law a $2 trillion slush fund for basically liberal spending. It was described as a coronavirus relief package, but in fact, when you take a look at it, less than 9% of the money, a very small percentage of the money, actually went for medical care. He crammed it through Congress, party line vote, absolutely no Republican support, put the bill on the nation's credit card, and the Federal Reserve started to print more money. Now, money doesn't grow on trees, doesn't come from a printer. You cannot print your way to prosperity. The money has to come from somewhere. History shows that this is a strategy that eventually backfires. Nations try to print free money, and they end up poorer than ever. Get-rich schemes don't work, never have, and aren't going to this time either. Inflation has gone up every single month since the election. Now, the White House experts tell us not to worry. These are the same experts that predicted there'd be 1 million new jobs and people working last month and that unemployment rate would drop. Look, much of the $2 trillion that President Biden signed into law hasn't even gone out the door yet. And the president is asking for trillions and trillions more. The House of Representatives the other night put out a proposal related to the infrastructure bill, one that I'm trying to work with the administration on. They're requesting $7.1 trillion, an astonishingly high amount of money. But if the president gets his way, we keep spending like this and the request from the House, inflation is only beginning. Hey, you don't have to take my word for it. Listen to the liberal economist Larry Summers. He was in the Clinton administration as well as the Obama administration. He was Clinton's Secretary of Treasury, had an economic role in the Obama administration. He warned against President Biden's spending spree. He called that $2 trillion slush fund the least responsible spending bill he'd seen in 4 decades. The least responsible spending bill in 4 decades. That's before all this additional spending may be coming. Well, this is what he said after April's inflation numbers came out. He said, I was worried about inflation, and then he said, yet it's moved even faster and sooner than even I had predicted. That's Larry Summers, Clinton administration, Obama administration, commenting on the Biden policies. People who save money their whole lives for retirement are now watching their hard-earned savings go down with a stroke of Joe Biden's pen. Their buying ability is shrinking. People who did the right thing, who worked hard, saved their money, are now being punished by Biden policies. Under President Biden, we're seeing more government, more taxes, more spending. And as a result, the American people are suffering. They're seeing flat wages, higher prices, and disappointing job creation. We see gas lines, we see people hoarding gasoline. Sounds like it was in the 1970s. And President Biden should remember those times because he was still a member of the Senate back then. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent to continue and finish my remarks with an additional 60 seconds.
Is there objection?
Thank you, Mr. President. President Biden should remember by 1980, the American people had had enough. We changed course. We thought it was enough of Jimmy Carter, and we elected Ronald Reagan president. It's time to change course again. Let's create more American energy. Let's set down the taxpayer's credit card, put it away, cut up the credit card, stop the reckless spending. American families have been paying the price. The people in the middle are being squeezed. The American people expect and deserve better. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.